surprise nominee to the cabinet was veteran journalist Farida Karunei, who is the chief operations officer at the Royal Media Services that owns Citizen TV. And when she appeared before the parliamentary vetting team yesterday, Farida tapped into her vast media experience for a compelling narrative on why she is well suited for her new job. Masik and Dia with the details.
Farida Chipchumba Karunei would have been sitting in her office, eyes darting across several TV screens on the wall, her phones busy with instructions on how best to cover the cabinet vetting today.
Tend to spend
But these are no longer normal days for Farida, and at 3:30 p.m. she walked into the unfolding transformation that confirmed her shift from a career journalist to what promises to be an engaging docket as Cabinet Secretary for Lands, Housing and Urban Development.
From Kenyatta University, I taught for maybe less than a year. Then I transported to media.
We set out to establish just how serious the problem is. In Baringo East,
it's these days as a features reporter and editor traversing the country that Farida says honed her people's skills, gave her the first-hand experience that she intends to draw from to handle a hot potato docket. One, Farida says, could benefit from a tried and tested communication expertise.
At my level, as CS, Mr. Chairman, if I'm so appointed, I believe that I would be working with a competent team of professionals. In difference, I don't have to be a physical planner, but I can provide the strategic direction for my physical planners to do their job.
But I just want to point out that when I won in a by-election, she covered that winning of mine at that time.
I just want to confirm that Turkana is one of the counties that you opened when you started covering issues and during those field trips.
In the same story, focusing on farming in Turkana, Farida interviewed the then Turkana North MP, John Munyes. Today, the two sat on the same seat, hours apart, promising change for the better of country.
I'm publicly known as a change leader, a worker, very motivated. I'm self-driven. I don't touch something that I don't believe in.
The confidence of a broadcaster's voice coming out to defend the seat and instilling hope that the cartels and fraudsters long domiciled at Adi House may finally find their Waterloo.
I want to give you hope, Mheshimiwa, that I think I have courage. I think I'm determined. I don't expect that it's going to be a walk in the park. I think it's going to be difficult, but I will count on the support of all of you.
Farida joined Royal Media Services in 2009 as the editorial director, climbing to the rank of Chief Operating Officer. It is famous among her journalism colleagues for her quest for perfection and teamwork. Her hitherto colleagues lost in celebrating her astounding rise, grateful that under her watch, Citizen TV topped viewership and content. Masik and Dia, Citizen.
Of course, the vetting of cabinet nominees is the biggest story we are following this morning. The second day will start in a few hours. The story has also received quite some coverage on the dailies. On the Daily Nation, page 8, NASA MPs skip vetting of Uhuru nominees for second-term cabinet. Opposition legislators had promised not to take part in the exercise last week, and there are photos of the 5 cabinet nominees, the 3 women who have been nominated for the very first time for cabinet positions, also featuring there. Interestingly, today only male nominees will be showing up. On page 8, coincidentally, of the Standard as well, that's where the story features. Munya put on the spot as Uhuru team faces queries. Munya gives reasons for past remarks, while Juma says she hopes her nomination will not be rejected again. Nominee displays his diplomatic side to MPs. They're talking about Peter Munya as well. On social media, just looking at Twitter, excuse me, CS vetting is the top trending hashtag this morning. Hashtag CS vetting. That's the biggest hashtag on Twitter this morning. Farida Karunei also features among the top 5 trending hashtags this morning. Going down. John Munyes, vetting of cabinet, Land CS, Peter Munya, Monica Juma, Ekuro Okot and George Kigoro, who wanted to address the parliamentary committee on appointments, also feature somewhere on the top 20 trends this morning. They were not allowed to do so. So yes, it is the biggest discussion even on Twitter. Quite a number of tweets, of course, most of them to do with media reports. Citizen TV, of course, topping there. Some people just using the hashtag to get a trend. One tweet here I can read from @Lilechi Kenya. Ambassador Monica Juma wasn't appointed because of agenda, but because she's married to Professor Peter Kagwanja. Of course, quite some hate on social media as well. Kenyans taking to Twitter to express their various views. Joining me for this discussion, David Ole Sankok, nominated MP, and Silvana Susoro, MP Mugirango South. Good morning, gentlemen. Karibuni sana. Of course, David Ole Sankok sits on the Parliamentary Committee on Appointments. You were there yesterday for the vetting. The biggest accusation, now that NASA stayed away, and Wanosoro will be telling us that. Wanosoro is a member of KNC party, which is part of NASA, is that now it has been reduced to a Jubilee party rubber stamping machine. That simply because there are only Jubilee members there, and of course the President has already said this has to happen, that yesterday was just a rosy event, that none of the cabinet nominees was actually put to task to actually answer very serious questions. It was just a rubber stamping machine. Do you agree with that?
That is maybe your perception.
No, I'm saying some people are saying that.
Some people, yes. That is their perception, and they are entitled to their own perception. But I can assure you, my brother, is that once we are in the House, we don't have opposition in Parliament. We don't have. We only have the majority and the minority. And once we belong to the committees, we no longer subscribe to our political parties. We become members of a certain committee. And there are standing orders that rule and govern any committee. And you know, this is a country that is governed by law. It's not a country that we can call a banana republic, that is not governed by law. The law is very clear, and our standing orders in Parliament are very clear, that once a parliamentary committee is substituted, we have a quorum that is necessary for it to be able to transact its own business. Other committees which may not be of that importance, their quorum may be 5. But when it comes to the appointive committee, because of the importance that is attached to this nation, the quorum is 14. And the moment you raise the requisite quorum, then you are allowed by law to transact the businesses of that particular committee.
But perception does matter as well in politics, and even matters appointments, because only the majority side is represented in that committee.
Are we now dealing with perception, or we are dealing with a country that is governed by law?
Okay, Bonosoro. The fact that Jubilee, only Jubilee members are in that committee, of course, that will be perceived in a certain way. Do you agree?
The truth of the matter is that when history of this country will be written, let it go on record that NASA stood against the injustices that happen in this country. Going straight to the issue of vetting in Parliament, it is indeed true that we boycotted. We chose to boycott deliberately because we do not want to be part of a rubber stamping exercise for formalities. This is more or less like spending the taxpayers' money unnecessarily. The case or the cases of the vetted or the ministers to be vetted is actually done and sealed. There is nothing. This is just a matter of spending taxpayers' money for nothing in a PR exercise on TV. And it's not in question that there is no serious outcome that will come out of that vetting. The names will be presented in Parliament, all on clean record, from an order, out of an order from State House. They will be passed, and that is it. We are living in a very questionable times. That the executive is in control of even Parliament. Very sharp minds, like my colleague here, Ole Sankok, very sharp minds, have refused to think independently. They have instructions on even the questions to ask the cabinet secretaries. They have instructions on the queries to be asked. They have instructions on what to take in as part of the queries raised by the public. So clearly we couldn't want to cheat the public as NASA, sit in that panel, lie to people that we are vetting these people, and it's nothing. It's a PR exercise.
Yes,
exactly.
David Ole Sankok, of course. If I could mention a case, Monica Juma has previously appeared before Parliamentary Committee on Appointments. She had been appointed to a different position, I think head of public service previously, and MP said no to her. Yes, this time round, according to what Bwana Osoro says, it is a done deal that any nominee who appears before that committee on appointments to the cabinet will definitely, it's as good as done. They already have the job, despite the fact that you still have to go on a retreat this weekend and come up with a report to present to Parliament. But we can just go ahead and report, yes, they've already been appointed, because it's a done deal. There's nothing that will come out of that report.
My brother, my friend here, when I thought he was a member of Parliament, and I've known him also to be very sharp, but today he's of a different character. He's a prophet. Now he have prophesied, he have foreseen, he have even known, I don't know from which sources, the information that maybe they came from State House. They were supposed to, we were given instruction on which question to ask. You are elected as a member of Parliament to transact businesses of Parliament. You are not elected to come here in Nairobi and hide yourself from your electorates, stay in Nairobi, mangering around here. You are elected to transact the business of Parliament. You had that noble duty that you were given by the electorate through their votes to be in that particular committee to ask those pertinent questions that you wanted to ask. As for us, as Jubilee, it is not us who gave ourselves majority in Parliament. It is not us who elected members of Parliament. It is Kenyans, with the blessing of God that gave us majority in Parliament. And when we have the requisite quorum, because if we were not majority and we did not have the requisite quorum, we would not have transacted that business. But because the country cannot be held at ransom by people who purport to even swear in new presidents when there is a sitting president, the country must move forward and services must be delivered to Kenyans. And that is why we decided, because we have the requisite quorum and we are independent members of Parliament, independent from the executive, we will ask our own question. Now, when Monica Juma appeared before and then her name is fronted again, that is why there is a vetting exercise. We will vet, we will retreat, write our report, bring it to Parliament, and I'm sure Osoro will be present. Let him come, because that is what he is elected for. Let him come and say Monica Juma or whoever may not be qualified, because they are not even aware of the report that we are writing.
The question is, Bwana Ole Sankok, is this committee on appointments currently able to say no to any of the... I'm not even asking about the ability of the candidates, or their merit rather.
Yes.
It's the ability of the committee to actually say no to any of those cabinet nominees, to say this one is not suited, and tell the president as much. Are you able to?
Oh, why not? The question that you had asking, we have had asked questions from 2014, those who are mentioned from ESCC. We have even letters, there's standing orders that are governing us. When we receive letters from the public, sometimes saying that so and so is not suited, we had to write to ESCC, write to Higher Education Loan Board as required by Chapter 6 of our Integrity Act. We have done what is supposed to be done.
But also, do you believe when he says that that committee is able to say no to the president?
I wish Mheshimiwa Sankok could be honest, and not just honest to Kenyans, but honest to himself. Parliament has been turned to be a rubber stamp of the executive's directives, and this is on record. Bwana Sankok sits in the committee on appointments and also sits in the Labour Committee. It's actually on record a few weeks ago that he participated in an election of his chairman, the Honorable Keter. And upon receiving a call from State House, in fact I was even with some members for an induction in Mombasa, who were even paid for tickets to fly to Nairobi to host their leader you know, in the pretense of, you know, of saying that they were not in sound mind by the time they were going for the previous elections, out of an order from State House. And that is what is going to happen. Of course, I agree with him. They might do all those things, write letters to the ESCC, write letters to all those things. They'll do that. I mean, as a form of formality in regard to Chapter 6 of our Constitution. That is not questionable. But now the question here is this. If the executive wants this particular person, they'll do nothing about it. They'll do all that, all those things, for formality purposes. They'll get faults in one or two candidates. They'll make a report. But before that report is presented to Parliament, one of them will have to present it to State House. Of course, the President will say, okay, I need this and this and this. Whatever the President will tell them, they will bring the report to Parliament and they will defend it vehemently. I am not questioning. Hold on. I am not questioning. I am not questioning
You cannot bring things that don't have.
Wait, I am not questioning the merit.
Okay, gentlemen, let's have it. Let's have some more.
Yes, but you know, of course, when somebody comes with accusation, if your party boss normally manipulate you, our party boss does not manipulate us. And when he says that there was calls from State House, let him give us some evidence. You know, sometimes just claims and some issues that
I was with some members.
Just mention the name.
No. But this is what is happening.
My brother, in this country. You know, he's claiming. Okay. He's claiming that State House.
Let me ask
Parliament have been reduced to a rubber stamping institution. He's a member of Parliament. If he's noble enough, why don't you resign from that?
And that's the question I want to ask you, Bonasoro, because even you accuse your Jubilee members of receiving orders on how they should act in Parliament, but you're doing something similar.
No,
when the party decides that you should boycott the vetting of cabinet nominees, all of you stay away. Are you thinking independently when you do that? Aren't you also not serving your constituents, the ones who elected you and expect you to be sitting in that cabinet vetting committee, yet you've decided to boycott a serious national matter?
Let me say this first, that the way NASA operates is quite parallel to what Jubilee does. We hold a big PG where we deliberate on what is of importance to us. We call a meeting with our party leaders. We don't receive directives from either of the principals in NASA. We hold a meeting together.
What about the parliamentary leadership or the minority leader when he says do not attend because he's the one who made that announcement and told the media that our members will not attend, and you took that directive from him?
Before he came to the media, members of Parliament sat down and had an agreement together before he came to the media. And that is something that has been...
My brother,
we haven't boycotted... Hold on. We haven't boycotted every exercise. We were in Mombasa for an induction, and it should actually go on record that we are not doubting the integrity or the merit of the CS or the nominees that are being vetted. We are not doubting either of them. In any case, actually, some of them, I even wish people like Monica Juma, who appeared before my committee, the Defense Committee, who were very sharp to get those positions. We are not doubting that.
But don't you think there would have been some value if at all NASA MPs took part in this vetting process? Those are elected or appointed to that committee on appointment. Don't you think there would have been some value from that?
Why should we enter into a PR exercise? Seriously.
If it is a PR exercise.
It's been happening before.
You know, my brother,
these are the things that have also happened.
Let's just line.
You see, there are two questions here. Besides talking about the PR exercise, you also need to understand that NASA is questioning the legitimacy of the government, of the executive. We are questioning two things. There is the legitimacy question, and there is also the question of rubber stamping these things.
So it is down to legitimacy.
You see the defense, Mheshimiwa Ole Sankok, puts forth for his position in Jubilee, which he does all over. You can't even argue with him.
No. We are not discussing Ole Sankok. We are discussing
thing.
Parliament.
This is the mentality. How do you even ask? I'm not actually questioning. I do not want to raise questions in the questions that the members of Parliament ask. But how does a member of Parliament come to a committee and ask a nominee to sing the East African, anthem? I mean, seriously, how does that one relate to the devolution ministry?
Yes,
how does that one relate to... Those are some of the questions. It's rubber stamping. They lack questions. They're just twisting questions.
My brother here, you are saying it is a PR exercise. And the legitimacy of the government that is in place. Yet you are in Parliament. In some factors, you agree with it. You attend committee meetings, maybe committee induction, maybe because of the allowances that are given out there, or because of the flight ticket that you are given by your particular committee. But let us speak the truth. If you were there, you'll have asked the question that you think were necessary to ask to the nominees. Because if somebody was asked to sing the East African anthem because he is the nominee for East African Cooperation Northern Corridor, so we want to know if he actually know his mandate, because part of his mandate will be that anthem is an East African anthem. Anyway, but to assure Kenyans.
Was he being tested on his singing ability?
But he did not even sing.
No,
He did not even sing. We just asked him if he actually understands the East African anthem, and he said yes, but he did not sing. But the question that we asked, like Peter Munya, there was mention of him in corruption dealings in 2013, immediately when he came in, especially of his own vehicle that he fueled using county money and he repaired using county money. The question came up and he answered, and we are retreating to go and see if his answer, because his answer is in an affidavit, and his answer is also is signed, a signed affidavit. Okay. So we will retreat and see if his answer satisfies us. If he satisfies us, we will write a report according to whatever. We have also written to EACC on the same, so that the EACC can respond to us of the same. So we have asked questions that I believe are questions that any interview panel will be able to ask, and all those guys are qualified. But my brother, why did you not come, so that the question that you have, that you feel that they are reasonable to be asked, then you will be asking.
The other
but
question, in the same breath, of course, the committee will retreat this weekend to write a report which will be presented to Parliament. Once Parliament reconvenes on Tuesday, I think next week sometime, that report will be presented to Parliament. Will you be there once it's presented?
I'll not wish to. Of course, we must be in Parliament, because Parliament business is not just to vet, or rather to to pass the names that have been presented by the committee. There are other things that we'll do in Parliament, but then personally, as an individual, I might not sit in a Parliament that will just be passing nominees that have been presented by the Jubilee, side of the vetting committee, which have been given instructions from State House to pass those names whichever way.
Why don't you come and reject?
Is that an instruction from your party?
No. That is, I've been with these colleagues and I actually know them. At times bills come to Parliament, at times things come to Parliament, and you only see SMSs from Duale, telling them that you need to pass this, and you'll see all the Sankoks.
You do not receive similar SMSs from your chief whip or your the leader of minority?
We receive, but we question. These guys don't question. You will see them changing tune every now and then, very fast. How do you explain
when somebody believes in rumors
down? How do you explain that a committee sits down, votes for their chair, then within 2 weeks they say they were not in? How can a whole committee of 20 membership, start saying that you were not in sound mind? I mean, were they in some level? What happened at 20 committee members saying that you were not in this? These guys rubber stamp what State House tells them. There is nothing they will do. And actually we are facing a very big challenge in the next 5-year Parliament.
Are we allowed to impeach their persons? Are we allowed to impeach even the president of this country?
With what grounds? What were the grounds?
The grounds were there, that's why he was impeached.
Which grounds?